Hi there, Jim Messina once again. Hi all you valuable collectors out there. Today I want to talk to you about some of the publications that are responsible for my education about vintage drums and collecting and just what sparked the whole thing for me. There was a whole generation of guys that came before me that had the knowledge, had to collect the knowledge on their own. And they came out with these books, and that's what I used to learn all about the great American drum companies. Now, if you're watching this video for the first time and you're seeing me for the first time and maybe dabbling in vintage drums, but the only names you remember are maybe Tama, Yamaha, and other Japanese names, and maybe some other American companies that have come up in the last 20 years maybe, but these are the originals here, the great American companies like Ludwig, Slingerland, Rogers, Leedy. But the book that really got me started, that I started with, and it's a good one for you to start with, is by John Aldridge. And this, to me, I consider this the Bible, really. He touches a little bit on each company, each of the American companies, and he covers just a few of their drums, their history, and it's a good way to start. But John is responsible for really a lot of this whole movement, the whole vintage drum collection phenomenon, along with Rob Cook. The two of them actually collaborated in the early years on Rob Cook's early videos. He was putting out VHS tapes, and he and John Aldridge sat there and would actually nail down the history, the chronological order of how things happened for these drum companies. And a lot of the collectors out now owe a big debt of gratitude to these guys because they taught a lot. And the thing is, who taught them? That's what I want to know. They were the original pioneers, people like Charlie Donnelly. That's one name that I know that Bunny Carlos refers to. He'll say, he taught me a lot about vintage drum collecting before any of these books existed. So I really have to give some applause to these guys for researching and getting the facts together and putting them in book form for us to learn. So other than John Aldridge's famous book, you got to get that. Next was Paul Schmitz's Ludwig book. Now sometimes this is known as the first Ludwig book, okay? Rob Cook came out then again with the second Ludwig book. Both great books, good to refer to. That's what I use these books for, reference. And the only thing that could be maybe more helpful would be actual catalogs. And I've collected some catalogs, and they're highly collectible on their own, but they're great for reference. And you can get some of those catalogs on disc now, so that's another thing to look into. But Paul Schmidt actually collaborated with William Ludwig II to come out with this book, and it's great. A lot of pictures, a lot of information, along with Rob Cook's second Ludwig book. This one I've beaten up. It's become worn out. I've used it so much. But these are all the staples that you need to know about. Now Rob, out of all these people, he's come up with a lot of books. He also did the Leedy book. Just as informative, just as interesting, another must-have. Now all these books are usually seen at the show. Rob at his Rebeats booth has all these books available, but they're available online too. And I really suggest that you look into these books and educate yourself, because if you're just getting interested in vintage drum collecting, this is going to do it for you. And you'll find out where you want to be. But you got to be educated first. You got to learn about the great American drum companies. Speaking of, here's another great guy, and he named his book The Great American Drums and the Companies That Made Them, 1920 to 1969. I speak of none other than Harry CANGANY. This guy is really knowledgeable, and he's on one of Rob's videos years ago from his store in Indianapolis, and he had a very nice collection going on there, and some things were donated. He actually had the Mills drum there. But listening to him talk, you can just see it just rolls out of his head. He's just got so much information in his head. Harry CANGANY, another great book. Rob also did the Slingerland book. I refer to this all the time. It does the whole history. Talks a lot about Gene Krupa. There's a name you must have heard. For all you young guys out there, Rob also did the Rogers book. Another great reference book. They're all the same quality, too. Got to pick these up. Now, there's a lot of books. And there are others. Another guy I want to talk to you about is, and he's kind of dropped away. You don't hear as much about him because he lives, I believe, in Italy now. But this is CHET FALZERANO, and his whole focus is on Gretsch drums, but specifically Billy Gladstone and Gretsch Gladstones. He has a fabulous collection of original Gladstone drums. Now, Billy Gladstone only put out, I don't know, maybe 50 or so drums. And they were of such high quality and unique technology. And his whole push was to get his drums into the symphony orchestras. That's where he wanted them to be. And he would actually put a special nameplate on there for each symphonic drummer. And Chet has managed to collect a lot of those drums, and he goes over it all in his book. Plus, he's dedicated a book just to his hero, Billy Gladstone himself. Okay? A great read, really. It covers his life, all his achievements. Now, we've also got The Making of a Drum Company, William Ludwig II, who recently passed away. Now, this man is responsible for just the biggest drum company in America twice. His father and his brother Theobald came up with Ludwig and Ludwig, and he was responsible for Ludwig that we know mostly of in the 60s. Great book. Now, I managed to get mine signed by him personally right here at the show. You can see it. There it is. And when he signed it, he was a great guy. He just he says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, Port Charlotte, Florida." He goes, "Hey, how's the real estate down there?" As though he was thinking of moving down there. And he says, "By the way, it's all in the book here." He says, "It's all there." And after that 1 year, his health really started to decline, and I never spoke to him again. But just that brief encounter with him just inspired me. What a guy. And for the last book here, we've got Paul SBURLATI, Ludwig Yesterday and Today, from 1909 to 1999. Tons of pictures. And that's what we like to see. We like to see real good examples of very rare drums. And you've got page after page after page. You know. Now, the other book I would recommend, of course, and I don't know if you've heard this name, but he's really one of the biggest snare drum collectors. He's got a primo collection. That's Mike Corrado, of course. He put out his own book of his collection. It's part one. He's got another part that's going to come out, but it's just an astounding collection, and it's really right that he specifically made a book about his own collection because he's well known in the community. There's a name you should look up. Seek out Mike Corrado's collection because he has a fine selection. He's accumulated just an astounding collection of snare drums. A lot of Ludwig, Slingerland, rare colors, just very valuable and rare drums. So along with that would be the magazine publications like Not So Modern Drummer Magazine, which was John Aldridge was, again, responsible for that. He started it. And that's been a staple for drummers for years. We have Classic Drummer now. That has some contemporary things in it too, but it has a vintage slant to it. So those are two publications you need to find out about and sign up for. So educate yourself. Use these books. I highly recommend them. Jim Messina, get a hold of me at GUMPH1234. give me your comments, whatever. See you again.